Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to the to our panel talk today. I'm Garrett Nicolai. I'm the director of the MDS-CL program here at UBC. And I'd like to acknowledge that although we're currently in a virtual meeting, many of us are on the UBC campus or in the vicinity, and UBC campus is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. We at UBC Linguistics feel that this land acknowledgement is an important first step in starting a conversation about reconciliation with the First Peoples of Canada. For more information, please visit native-land.ca or fpcc.ca to find more information about the land and the peoples that live on it. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panelists today. We have Saffrin, Granby, Ahsan, Ghani, and Xinyi, who are recent graduates of the MDS-CL program. And I would like them to just give a short introduction where they came from into the program and where they're working now. So let's start with Saffrin. If you want to just introduce yourself, please.
Yeah. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Saffrin. I did my undergraduate at UBC. I did a Bachelor's of Science in Cognitive Systems, and I was really interested in linguistics and computer science. And before starting the program, I had done a work learn at a lab where I got to kind of dip my toes into some machine learning and linguistics, and I really loved it. So I thought that this program was like a really perfect amalgamation of linguistics and computer science put together. And after the program, I got a job at Vancouver Coastal Health as a decision support advisor, and I'm able to use some of my computational linguistics skills there.
All right, thank you, Saffrin. Ahsan, please.
Hi, good morning, guys. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Ahsan. I actually did my mechanical engineering at UBC and then Toronto. I transitioned into computer science by sneaking into hackathons, and I worked as an SDE for a few years before MDS. I wish I knew that MDS is more of a marathon. And currently, I'm working as a research scientist at the University of Alberta in their mechanical engineering department, but I'm doing like language processing and computer vision for prof. Xinyi?
Yeah, thanks, Ahsan. Yes, please, Xinyi.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's really nice to see you guys here. So my name is Xinyi. Before joining this MDS program, I did my bachelor's degree in applied mathematics back in China. And then after that, I did some projects in natural language processing. And me, myself, I'm really interested in linguistics and everything. Although I don't have much of a linguistics background, I did some courses by myself on Coursera, and then that's how I got applied to UBC and this program. And this program has helped me a lot. And then after graduating from this program, right now I'm working in Vancouver. I'm working in Safe Fleet as a data scientist. So yeah, that's basically about me.
All right, thanks. Now that we know all of our panelists, we can get started with some of the questions. So these questions were sent in beforehand. We've gone through them and tried to get a broad number of categories to discuss. We have a lot to discuss, so let's get started. I just want to give a reminder that this is not an admissions panel, so please don't ask the panelists questions about admissions. They probably don't know the answers, and there'll be a later session in December for admissions. This is more just about the MDS-CL program in general. All right, so the first question I would like to ask is related to just before the program. What did you wish you knew before you joined the MDS-CL program? And Xinyi, if you want to start. I don't mean to put you on the spot. If someone else has an answer.
Yeah, I think Ahsan just said maybe he has something to share. Yeah, you can go ahead, Ahsan.
Oh, sure. So basically, like I started saying previously, I wish I had known that MDS is more of a marathon. So it's a very fast-paced course, which means that you do a lot on a daily basis in terms of like classes, labs, assignments. I, for one, didn't take any breaks, but we were told, oh, take Sunday off. I would highly recommend that. Pace yourself. And for me, myself, we were also advised not to work. I was working also, so I would take like morning meetings and then go to class. So I wish I had known that MDS is very, very intensive, and you got to give it like your 200%. So yeah, over to you guys.
Yeah, so I'd just like to ask about how much were you working during the program? Were you working full time or?
Yeah. So I was putting in about 10 to 20 hours per week.
Okay.
And that too was because MDS itself takes like 40 to 60, maybe sometimes more hours per week. So it's not a sustainable approach at all. I mean, burnout is very real and you want to prevent burnout. So you want to balance your work lifestyle.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. Saffrin, Xinyi, do you have any comments about what you wish you'd known coming into the program?
Yeah, I can add something to Ahsan. I mean, he has a really good point here. Like, I also wish I knew that it was such an intense program before coming here. And also, I think the first month for me is okay, but then I spent maybe like 1 to 2 months, like, adjusting myself to this fast-paced learning environment. And also, like, you have to really manage your time well. Like, that's something I learned in the process of this program, because you won't be expecting yourself to do everything like 100%, like all correct, right? You make mistakes sometimes, you ask for help, and yeah, that's also like something I wish I had knew before I came, so that I can basically get myself into this environment, into this learning like faster. Yeah, Saffrin, do you have anything to add on it?
I mean, they kind of summarize it, but I have to say I was one of those people before the program where I would do a million things. I was always so busy. And then when people were saying that this was an intense program, I was like, not for me. I'm sure I'll be fine, but I wasn't. It was like so intense. So when we're saying it's intense, like you are probably not the exception. Like I think all of us in the program really struggled, and it's really fun. It's a great program, but take it seriously. It is super intense.
Okay, so I'd like to just build upon that. Do you have any tips? So Ahsan suggested taking Sundays off, making sure to balance the time. Do you have any other suggestions for how to deal with this intense program and with dealing with 4 labs a week and 4 classes a week and quizzes and everything else?
I would say ask for help early and start early. I know that some of us are procrastinators, and I realized really early that it's too much work to do in one day for the most part. So you really need to start early, ask your profs for help, lean on your other peers for help. And additionally, what I needed to do was that I would actually structure breaks into my calendar. Like I would plan my days, and I would, like, if I don't say that I'm going to take a break from say 1 till 2, then I won't take that break. So just forcing myself to have some time off actually ended up helping me in the long run because it prevented burnout. So just taking measures like that to make sure that you're not working yourself to the ground, because at the end of the day, if you're so burnt out that you can't study or do any work, that's not going to help you either.
Yeah, also something I want to add on is that I know many of you must be really excellent students before coming to UBC. Like you got like straight A's in your middle school. Everything was so great, right? Like I'm pretty sure many of you will be like that. And one suggestion I would give is that stop comparing yourself with others.
Yeah.
Because I know this is something that we usually do, especially in this program, because like you guys sit down together for classes, for labs, for quizzes, and then after quizzes you just ask, hey, how much score did you get? Like, right, something like that, and then you could easily get really stressful out of it. So my suggestion would be like just focusing on yourself, focusing on what you have learned, right? Like if you have any questions, reach out to your profs, to TAs. They're really helpful, or to your classmates, but just don't focusing on like comparing like quizzes, like especially those grades. Like they're like pretty meaningless in this process, as long as you get something useful out of it.
And I would just like to add that this is a program where you are going to be working with the other students in your cohort. So there are several course projects, but also the capstone. So working with other students, I assume it's helpful, but and not just isolating yourself from the rest of the cohort.
Right, yeah. What I mean is that like you should definitely cooperate like with your classmates, but just don't like focusing on the grades and everything, because I know some people would get really stressful, like because they're only focusing on 90 points, like, or 80 points or something like that. Right?
Yeah. So on the grades aspect, so the one question that comes up regularly is, because this is a mixed program of computational linguistics, can someone with less of a computational background or less of a linguistics background come into the program and succeed?
Yeah, absolutely. Like many of us coming from engineering side, I'm a mechanical, I'm at a few electricals and chemicals. We had zero linguistic background. We had done at the bare minimum like calculus and statistics, and that was about it. But it's more of a drive. It's more of do you really want to dive into text and speech and analytics and audio and things like that? And there's a lot of scope, obviously, in the professional environment. I don't think you need like a prerequisite skill set, but you do need the drive to achieve that skill set for sure.
Saffrin, Xinyi, do you have anything to add to that, or?
I think the program just had such a diverse amount of like backgrounds, like academic wise. So I thought it was really interesting that people, I remember there was someone who had a literature background, there was someone who had a straight linguistics background and not any sort of computational background. And I think what determined whether or not people succeeded was the amount of work and effort that they put into it and the amount that they like really drove themselves. So I think that anybody who is willing to do the work can succeed in this program.
Yes, also, I remember like we have classmates from all kinds of background, like engineering, math, arts, everything. What I want to say is that no matter what kind of background you're coming from, you have your own strength in it, right? It's not like you can only succeed if you're coming from a CS background. It's not like, for example, for me, I came from a math background. So when it comes to statistics and everything, so I think I have a strength in that. But then say if you have like a linguistics background, then you will probably grasp like ideas better or more quickly from that aspect. So yeah, so I would say everyone from like different backgrounds, they will succeed in this program. Yeah, for sure.
So I'd like to ask a question. You've already talked about the intensity of the program, but how about the pacing and how the courses are laid out? So if you maybe have less of a linguistics background or computational background, how does the program kind of guide you into the materials that you're going to be working with?
So computational linguistics itself started off very gradually in terms of we started off in December with our introductory CL course, and I find that it was they laid the foundation before they got into the really intricate details, and the transition was very smooth, I'd say. How about you guys?
I think I agree with you for the linguistics part. For the more computational side, I think that it could be very hard in that first month to kind of adjust to the pace that you're working at, but they give you all the tools that you need to succeed. And I think a part of that adjustment period will also be getting used to doing that amount of work. So I think that if you can get through the first month and get through like just that adjustment period, when you're looking back, you can see you've had all the tools that you need to succeed. And they go, although at a fast pace, they're not skipping over stuff. They're really laying down each part of like programming and statistics and how to interact with like command line and project structures and stuff like that. So while it's a lot of information all at once, they're really laying down the foundations in these first couple of blocks so that when you get into later blocks and you're doing more complex deep learning and machine learning, you're able to use the skills that you've worked up to succeed.
Yeah, also talking about the course structure, like we not only is like we laid foundation like in the first few months, and then so that you can utilize those tools you have learned, but also like in the later courses, say we have lectures, and in lectures we basically talk about some ideas, basic conceptions, for example, about linguistics. And then we have lab sessions. In those lab sessions, you get to do some coding, you get to do some real practice on your hand. And then we also have quizzes. And then during that time, you will have more, you will be pushed more, like, to go over everything you have learned. And then that will make what you have learned, like, stay longer in your head. Yeah.
So I see there's a question, and just there have been a few questions about if you have no programming experience or very, very little programming experience, do you think you can succeed, or should you do some sort of prep work before coming into the program?
I mean, I definitely would recommend doing some prep work. I think it's just kind of going to help you if you decide to do the program. for not everything to be new, because you're already going to have so many things coming at you at once, that I think like doing some prep work into programming would really help lessen how stressful that time could be.
Yeah, and also like doing some prep work does not mean that you have to do, a full-time other master like for CS before this program. It just simply means that you have to at least you have some basic ideas about how Python works. For example, because we mainly use Python during our course. Even for me, I didn't have any experience with R, but we actually used quite a lot of R in the first few months. But I think I handled it perfectly okay. So again, like the course is designed for people who are coming from different backgrounds, even if you don't have any coding experience. But like again, like Saffrin said, like some preparation work for getting yourself just familiar with those coding languages is definitely recommended for doing this program. Yeah. What about do you have anything to add, Ahsan?
So I'm a very strong advocate for massive open online courses, MOOCs. They actually helped me transition my entire career from mechanical into data science. I would highly recommend that if you have a summer prior to MDS, you invest it into, let's say, picking up Python, picking up R. It would really help kind of smooth out riding that learning curve in the first couple months. So leverage like Udemy, Coursera, edX, all of these resources that you have at your disposal for free online. Highly recommend it.
All right, so I'd like to move on to another topic, and that's I guess we can just call that Vancouver. So a lot of students are coming from outside Vancouver for the program. Do you have any advice or tips about finding a place to live in Vancouver? Do you recommend living near campus? Do you have any advice? Just because I'm sure students have heard the horror stories about trying to come into Vancouver. So any advice you can provide, I think, would be appreciated.
So I'm native to Vancouver. I've been here about a decade or more. Vancouver itself, economically speaking, is very challenging. So if you can apply for housing on campus, you would be saving a lot. If not, you can find housing outside in the city, but be mindful that it is not too budget friendly. So it's a very competitive housing market, and you'll have to dig around quite a bit. Highly recommend applying for housing, and there'll be like a wait list, sometimes 4 to 6 months, sometimes I was on wait list for a year, but that's for student house, that's for family housing. So do apply, and otherwise, if all else fails, you can look into the city and just grab a bus and come in.
Yeah, so I came as an international student. I found a housing at UBC on campus, which I think was really helpful because you don't have to commute every day from somewhere else to campus, and then you can basically take some rest, between courses and labs and everything. So what I was living in was called St. John's College. So if you ever, any of you would like to search that up, it's called St. John's College. It's mainly for graduate student housing. It's on campus, and you have your own washroom and everything. It's a pretty nice space, and they also have meal plans for you, just in case you get too busy during the program and you don't have time to cook for yourself. So yeah, so I would say it's a pretty nice living environment. And right now, I know some students who are right now in the MDS-CL program that for this year, they're also living at St. John's College. So yeah, that would potentially be an option if you cannot get yourself into UBC housing, because it's really competitive. I think I didn't get in, and that's why how I ended up applying for St. John's College. Yeah.
I don't have too much to add. I was living with my parents at the time, but I think that if you're unable to find housing on campus, I think something to look for, if possible, is look at the bus lines. That there's a ton of express buses that go to UBC. So finding somewhere that's kind of close to one of the stops that gets you an express to UBC would be really easy and kind of take off a bit of stress of commuting to campus.
Yeah, that commute can be can be a bit surprising if you're coming from somewhere that maybe is a bit smaller city, or Vancouver is a large city, so sometimes it can take a while to get if you're living somewhere else in the city. But let's not scare everybody away from Vancouver. So what would you say is your favorite part about living in Vancouver, or the campus in general?
I think living on campus, the number one advantage is that saves you a lot of time. right? And then you don't have to, like, it's you live on campus, and then it's really close to everywhere, like close to gym, close to classroom, close to library, and then basically everything is within like 10 minutes walk distance. And then the other advantage is that I know many students will still try to find housing near campus, right? So you also get the chance, to connect with your classmates, your friends, and maybe you guys just grab some coffee after one day's long lab and work, and then you talk about maybe life or school or anything. That could be potentially like an advantage of living close to campus. And also, by the way, UBC campus is the most beautiful campus I've ever seen. That's definitely, yeah. I love the campus a lot. Yeah, I miss it.
For the campus, I would emphasize the networking aspect. You can meet and greet a lot of people. There's recreational activities such as the pool and the gym. Vancouver in general, it's one side ocean, three sides mountains. So there's lots of activities, whether you like the water or you like the hiking. Winter activities, snowboarding and skiing and things like that, going up to resorts. Lots to do and lots to see. But yes, Saffrin.
I love Vancouver, and like Ahsan was mentioning, the mountains are right there. So actually on Mondays after labs, I would go up to Cypress Mountain and go skiing as part of my one of my weekly breaks. And they have Vancouver has Stanley Park, which is like one of the most beautiful parks, and it has this gorgeous seawall that you can walk around. And during the fall and spring, when it's not as rainy, it is such a gorgeous walk. And we have so many beaches, and there's a beach on campus, Rec Beach, where even though it's a very steep stair walk to get down, it's a really beautiful beach and a nice place to go if you just need a little bit of time to relax. And in general, if you love the outdoors, Vancouver is just a really great place to be, has a really good restaurant scene. Yeah, maybe I'm very biased, but I really, really love Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm a relative newbie to Vancouver, and I love it too. There's also Pacific Spirit Park right off campus, which is also a really nice park for hiking and for going through bird watching, all sorts of activities. So I'd like to move on to the curriculum of the program itself. So one question that comes up regularly is, how well does the program actually prepare you for the jobs you're doing right now? I'll let you think about that and answer. But yeah, how well did what you learned in the program actually apply to what you're doing now?
So personally, I think the syllabus of the MDS program is strictly catered to industry.
Yes.
I think CL did a really good job in picking up those topics that they knew we needed as we hit the ground running for applied science, research science, data science, for MLEs, for NLPs. So personally, I'm using every single resource that we learned about, and specifically for CL, there's a lot of correlation into computer vision as well. So you can get into driving, you can get into other aspects of technology that you might not have discussed it during the syllabus, but there are very strong ties into other domains as well.
I feel like I'm using everything like end to end of what I learned from the program. Like in the beginning, you're learning about how to think about data and how to like open up a data spreadsheet and like basically read it before you even start to do any analysis, to all the way to building these deep learning models. So I feel like everything that you learn from end to end is really important, and the program was really well thought out in terms of like giving you skills to succeed as a data science. So I feel like I'm using like almost everything that I learned.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think during the course, I learned a lot. I did some of my I did some courses on Coursera before I came to this program, but I think what I learned in this program, it's more comprehensive, and it's more like integrated as a whole. And then most specifically, I felt the capstone project at the end of the program really helped me a lot in what I'm doing as a data scientist right now, because that capstone project is basically in the first industry project that I have ever did, like with a company here in Vancouver, and I get to know some of the tools that companies are usually using, and also that helped me a lot in understanding what I need to do, or what my tasks are like in my current job right now.
So I'd like to build on that a little bit. So this is a very fast program. It's a 10-month program. So the question came up, is 10 months enough to learn the material necessary to become a good data scientist? Yeah,
10
go ahead,
years
Ahsan.
enough? Is 10 years enough to become a good data scientist? No. So basically, what we're doing is we're laying out the foundation. And believe it or not, the graduates from 2 years ago will be surprised at the technologies that came out yesterday, right? So the data science, NLP, CL itself, it moves so fast that keeping up with it is a task on its own. So 10 months is sufficient, more than sufficient to lay out a good foundation. The capstone really helps with the professional experience aspect of it. And then above and beyond that, you learn how to learn. and then you develop all that as you go in your professional life.
Yeah, I really like what you said there. You learn how to learn. I think with any profession, you never stop learning. You keep on like learning new things about your field. So I think that the program goes really quickly, and I think it's up to you to kind of like get what you need from it, since it goes by really fast. I mean, like you can just kind of do the program without letting anything stick. But if you really afterwards think about it and you go back and review your old material as you're like on the job and you're like, oh, I actually learned this before, but maybe you weren't an expert before. So like it's about kind of building on the foundation of what you learned before to make yourself an even better data scientist.
Yeah, I think Saffrin mentioned a really good point about, you're always learning. It's not like after finishing this 10 months program and you go to work and then you you're someone who knows everything about work. It's not the case, right? So even for me, like currently in my job, I'm still learning new things every day. I'm talking to different teams, cloud engineering teams, and every other like team members. I'm still learning new things. It's the learning just never stops. And during those 10 months program, it is like laying a foundation for you, and you're learning like how basically things work in this data science industry, and then you're grasping the basic tools for you to explore more like in your career. And also I remember we had one session with someone, I couldn't remember like their name or which company they're coming from, but they also mentioned something similar. They're like they said don't expect yourself to know everything before you go to work, because after you go to work you will still be exposing to so many different things. But the difference is that when you go through this very intense program, you'll find yourself learning everything faster than what you used to do, because for this 10 months you're getting yourself adjusted to this fast learning environment, and then after that you can basically grasp anything like really quickly.
So I see that a few questions are coming up now about jobs and job hunting. So I'm going to ask one first. Depending on, or what kind of jobs would you look for with the CL? Like, why would you pick CL over the V program? And what kind of jobs would you be looking for towards the end of it?
So why I chose CL instead of V is that I've always been interested in linguistics. And like I said, I did some projects in natural language processing, and I think that could be something that I really want to do more, like deeper, learn deeper knowledge into it. And that's why I get into MDS-CL. And also, I think although right now I'm a data scientist, because right now my job does not have that much to do with linguistics, but my manager did mention that in the future we'll have more speech data coming in. And then he said, okay, basically because you're coming from this background, so you probably one day you will get to use some speech data, and then that will be your expertise. So I would say that you never know, right? Like you never know when what time like your skills will come into use. So yeah, so basically like I would say if you have a passion for data science and you also love dealing with linguistics, then that's MDS-CL is something that you can potentially look into.
And are there any specific, I know that a lot of companies kind of call their positions different things. Are there any specific job titles you looked for when you were doing your job hunts?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was looking for more NLP side. And like I said, there's a lot of correlation to computer vision as well. And do you mind if I also kind of address the previous question real quick?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So this is a response catered to Kate, Vanessa, and Garrett yourself. My application to computational linguistics, the logic behind it wasn't trivial. Here's my thought process. I'm a mechanical engineer. we love cars and planes, but cars, they drive themselves. But how do they drive themselves? They use cameras, but cameras take like a vision input. But to analyze a vision input, the logic behind that is also the same logic as analyzing language text input and sound text input. So you have text, sound, vision, video. And so the reason I came to computational linguistics was like, but how does a car drive itself? So that's why I applied to CL. But yeah, coming out of it, you can apply to MLEs, NLPs, CVs, or generic data scientists, applied scientists, and all of those fields open up to you. If you would like to diversify your portfolio, you can also dive into like healthcare and fintech, depending on your preferences. Saffrin?
I think I mentioned it in my introduction. During my undergrad, studied a lot of computer science and linguistics. So I thought that this program was the perfect intersection of both of them. So that's why I wanted to do CL. In terms of what jobs I looked for, I kind of searched for data scientist, decision scientist, machine learning engineer, machine learning researcher, something along those lines that kind of utilize the skills that we went over in like the program. And I saw that somebody had asked, like, how long did it take to get hired? And I think I was job searching while I was in the program for about 4 months before finding a job in the May before we graduated.
Yeah, so I was going to ask if you don't mind sharing kind of how long the job search took. And I think that was typical as well, Saffrin, that plenty of students once January kind of it rolled into the new year, a lot of students were job hunting. But I'm interested, Ahsan, Xinyi, in your experiences in job hunting as well.
Yeah, so basically, when it enters the next year, January, I started to get panicked. I was like, yeah, what I'm gonna do after I graduate, I'm gonna find a job or this and that. So basically during that period, I started building my resume and started putting everything together. And then I think my active period of job hunting was during March and April, and that's also when I got my offer. But I also did another several interviews afterwards, but eventually I did just choose the first job offer that I got. But yeah, I would say take your time, because some students, they feel like they can handle like job hunting and also this courses at the same time. So if you feel like you're confident, you can go with it. Absolutely no problem. But if someone said, okay, I just want to finish this program first, and then I want to take a break, I take a summer break, and then I go to job hunting, it's also perfectly okay. I mean, it's totally up to you.
So kudos to my colleagues for your preemptive effort in job hunting from January until to May. I had a research term in the summer, so I didn't really pick it up until like August. I started applying at the end of August, and I had like 3 or 4 offers by the end of September. So it took like 3 or 4 weeks. But yeah, all in due time when you're well rested.
Yeah. Yeah, well-rested comes up several times over the course of the program. One question that I saw that I was really interested in was, did your career objectives change as you were going through the program and learning what you were capable of doing and what there was out there for you to actually to use as far as CL goes? So, Ahsan, you said that you came in looking to learn how to drive cars. Yeah. Did that change over the course of the program?
Yeah. So I came in with the intention of cars, and honestly, nothing has changed. It's just how to get there. Well, there's a different process to get there. It's the NLP CV process to go to autonomous vehicles. The end goal hasn't changed, but the route to get there has. And I think CL really defined the models and the training and the code required and the analysis behind how you would go about applying this into your specific vertical. For me, which is automotive, but for anyone else, it could be like fintech or healthcare.
Sorry, you can
go ahead.
No, I came without a very clear destination about where I was going into, because basically, coming from a math background, and then most of my classmates diverged into finance or into CS. So basically, I had no clear idea of what career path I wanted to choose. I think that question got cleared when I was doing this program. It's not like for Ahsan, it's really good for him because he already knew like what he's always like from the beginning of this program, but for me it was basically a blank paper. So what I was doing like in this program was like I listened to other people's suggestions, I talked to professors, I just basically I had an idea, like eventually I had an idea of which career path I was going to, which is data scientist. I think it works out for me. It's really cool. Saffrin?
I think it opened my mind about how much can be done using computational linguistics, because I think I only had a conceptual idea. I knew it was just combining linguistics and computer science a little bit. So I was like, I didn't really know what I could do. And I saw that somebody had a question, which is like, how can the knowledge gained in MDS-CL make the world a better place? And I think that leads into exactly like the project that I did for my capstone. That's really exciting, where I got to create a language revitalization tool for Ojibwe, where we created a website and an API, which automatically conjugated verbs, and it's a language learning tool, which I thought was really like impactful and important. And even in the job that I'm in now, I'm working for Vancouver Coastal Health. So I'm working with language data sets where we're able to take patient complaints and try to topic model them and hopefully be able to improve patient care and quality and experience. So I think that using language data for like positive, good things is definitely possible. And the stuff that you learned in the stuff that I learned in the program has really helped me do the role that I'm doing now.
So I think that this is a really nice way to segue into capstones. First, I'll get Ahsan and Xinyi to describe the capstone projects that they worked on, just to give an idea of the types of projects that we do have in the capstones.
Absolutely. So we were paired with a Seattle-based startup, and we specialized in conversational AI, wherein we were taking audio intonations and written text into a dashboard for customer service representatives. Our domain was more of like a call center, where they can see how the customer's feeling, how to better kind of upsell their products and things like that. Believe it or not, I didn't realize, but this POC has a lot of application in industry, and almost every interview that I've given has been based off of the work that we did at this capstone. So, Xinyi?
Yeah, so my capstone is with a company called CFI in downtown Vancouver. So one thing I really like about this company is that it's based in Vancouver. So we actually went to downtown and then we talked to our manager like face to face and everything. The environment was pretty nice. And one thing that we were doing in our capstone, which I also think helped me a lot in my work, is that so basically they're a company that they're offering online courses to students, and they gather the feedback from the students, and then they have this after course survey and everything. So basically what we were doing is that we are looking at those feedbacks, and then we're trying to utilize some linguistics tools to help them analyze like what kind of course needs to be improved and in what aspect it needs to be improved. So I think, and also one thing I really like about the capstone project is that it has a basic idea of what we have to achieve, but in the process, like we have much freedom to say which path we need to go to. Like we can utilize different tools about how we are going to achieve our goals in the end. This really helped me in my job right now, because right now my job is also like we have this much data, but then we don't have much idea of what we can do with this data, and then how you are going to help us with doing this analysis.
So one question that came up as well is how did you go about picking your capstones? So were you just assigned to a capstone project with a partner, or did you have some say in that with choosing your capstone projects?
So we had a capstone fair where they presented a bunch of different possible projects for us. The companies come to you and you kind of get a rundown of what you'd be working on. And then basically you give a ranking of I think your top 5 capstone projects that you'd be interested in. And then from there, all of the students' rankings are taken into account, and basically you'd hopefully get one of your top 3, and then basically the other people in your group also kind of had a similar thing where they ranked the project that you're working on within their top 5.
Yeah, and I can comment from our side as well that once those rankings are taken into account, then we try and build the teams from that. But yeah, there is say from the students on which capstone projects you participate in. Also with the capstones, so Xinyi mentioned that there's room for exploration. How much room for exploration? Is it just a case of partner comes and says, "We have this data. Go ahead and try and solve some problem," or is it more of a specific problem, but you're free to explore in various ways?
Yeah, so definitely for this capstone project, you have your mentor from our program, and then you also have a manager from the company or the group, like whoever is offering this capstone opportunity to you. So what we were doing is that they have this big goal of what we have to achieve. Like they want to extract something from some suggestions from their user feedback. And then during the process, I think we changed 2 or 3 methods of achieving that, because for the first method we were using it, and then we think it might take a lot more time than 2 months to actually achieve that. So that's why we shifted to another goal. But during that process, what I mean by freedom is that you get to say about how you want to approach that question. You get the opportunity to discuss with your teammates or your mentors, but also you will receive a lot of guidance from the manager and also from your professor. So from your professor, mainly it's mainly academic help. They will be discussing with you which kind of method you can basically utilize. And then from the manager, it's more like industry help. Like they will be telling you what kind of approach that we will be using in industry. And then one thing I remember is that we did a presentation to all the the managers in the company, and then we're basically presenting our ideas to them. And at that point, we also got a lot of help about how we should present our ideas to them, because coming from tech background, we only know how to do those charts. And then basically what we have to know is that how do we translate this technology words into some plain words that the managers can understand. I think that's also a very important aspect in doing this capstone.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that a lot of times the partners coming in are not data scientists. They are members of the tech community maybe, but have less information. So I think, yeah, it's very much a back and forth between you, the faculty and the partners as you're working through the capstones. One other question that came up was, what's the day-to-day look like on a capstone, and how does it differ from the rest of the program?
It's a lot more flexible, I would say. The program before the capstone is very structured in that you have your lectures in the morning, you have a small break, and then you have your labs in the evening. And then you do that 4 days. And on the Friday, you have just a day of office hours, versus with the capstone, a part of it is kind of reliant on who the partner that you're working with. You have meetings with them, you may have a meeting with your mentor, but other than that, it's kind of just like working a remote job where you have to pick your own hours. You have to be a bit self-disciplined and set a bit of a schedule for yourself and meet with your teammates and discuss goals all on your own, versus with the program, they give you specific assignments that are due on this day. And with capstone, it's all very, very flexible, and you have to structure it yourself.
So for the couple of years that I was in SDE, our capstone was structured much like a software house, where we have morning stand-ups for a scrum session. What did you do? What do you need to do? Where are you stuck? And then we'd have weekly planning sessions on a Monday, and then weekly deliverables or a presentation on a Friday, followed by a retrospective. What could we have done better, kind of thing. It's agile, for example, and this really helped us pump out our 5 POCs and write our report for the end of the capstone project as well.
Sorry, POC.
Yeah, proof of concept. So so most groups did 1 project. We did 5 mini projects, and we're well, look, it works, or look, it doesn't work. It's like a toy sandbox kind of thing. Yeah.
Xinyi, do you have anything to add to that, or?
Yeah, I think about capstone. Yeah, I think Saffrin and Ahsan basically mentioned everything about it. So I mean, for capstone schedules, you definitely get your own flexible hours. But I think one thing that I want to mention is that it's really important, to cooperate with your teammates, because I know during that time, some people will have their own schedules. Like some people prefer to wake up early in the morning, some people prefer to work late at night. But it's really important that you guys actually sit down and plan ahead for this week, and also talk to your mentor about your goals this week and your goals for next week. So basically, we have this group meetings every week, and then we're going to present to our mentors and also to our managers about our progress, and also ask them for any advice or suggestions about what we should be doing like in the next coming week or month.
All right, so also related to capstones, so you mentioned projects that sound very NLP oriented. Were all of the capstone projects and all the ones that were presented more NLP based, or were there some that were just more kind of on the straight data science side? And maybe less linguistically related?
So
if you can remember.
So CL did a really good job filtering out the NLP projects for us, and I really appreciate that. I know MDS Vancouver and Okanagan, they must have had some data science projects that weren't too NLP focused. I did have a Vancouver team call me and they were like, we're stuck, this is totally NLP. Well, yeah, I can explain to you the models that we use to go about and target this. So yeah, our program at least very NLP, but keep in mind, most projects are very heavily data focused also. Yeah. It's not like just plug and chug a model with this. No, you have to clean out the data, otherwise garbage in is garbage out, and it's just not going to work.
So I'd like to talk just briefly about, you mentioned that you have to clean up the data. I know for some students, the capstones are one of the first times you're actually working with a real data set. Does this come as a shock after working with kind of the clean data of the labs and of the previous assignments?
Oh my God, yes. Our project, we got this data set and we were so excited because it had like 4 million entries, and it turns out we couldn't use all of them because none of it was tagged properly at all. So a part of our project ended up being having to go through the Ojibwe People's Dictionary and not manually, but creating a script to scrape it all off and then basically tag it ourselves. So that was something that was like a big hurdle for us that we were not expecting when we were introduced to the project.
Yeah, but I think we for our project, like we did do a lot of data cleaning and everything in it. But I think during this course, like this 8 months before that, we've already been well trained that, you know, like cleaning the data is really an important step for, you know, becoming a data scientist. And that's a really important job before you start even analyzing your data. And yeah, I would say in most of our labs, we have to do a lot of data cleaning before we even get started. So it's actually you've done those practice before you actually go into the industry side.
All right, so I think we've gone through most of the questions that were sent beforehand. I've seen a couple come up in the Q&A. One that often comes up, not just with CL, but with linguistics in general, is is it a benefit to come into the program knowing lots of languages, or is it necessary to know lots of languages when you're working with linguistic data?
I don't think it's necessary, but it gives you really good insight, I think.
I mean, by language, do you mean coding languages, or do you mean?
Oh, no. Yeah, that's good. Okay. You can answer either one. I think the question was more based around spoken languages, but coding languages, if you have some insight into that as well, then that'd be appreciated.
For speaking languages, it's your enthusiasm. Like if you're enthusiastic about learning languages, sure, go ahead. That's pretty fun. Like for me, I'm really interested in learning new languages as well. But for coding languages, yeah, I think the more you know, the better you will be like in this program. Yeah, Ahsan?
So about languages, you don't absolutely need to know a language to work on it from like a coding perspective. But however, I have found that in my research experience and in some industry applications, if you are working on a data set or you're trying to deliver to a client in a specific language, you'll need one team member to do quality assurance on the output of this model. So for example, Arabic written in a completely separate script. And if you don't speak or read or write Arabic, you won't be able to understand, did the model do a good job or is it just completely garbage? So you'll need one person who's, and this is where the linguist comes in, you'll need one person who's really good at understanding the output and then saying, yes, we have a high accuracy, or no, this is completely failing, we got to do it again.
Oh, that takes me back to a presentation I gave with Russian examples. I don't speak Russian, but there happened to be a Russian speaker in the audience who saw my examples were wrong. Yeah, it's a good idea to make sure that that somebody vets your data when you're working with a language you're unfamiliar with. So I saw there was a question specifically for Saffrin. The question is just they're really interested in what drew you to healthcare related role and more specifically working on the patient complaint project. Can you describe what the process was like before and what brought you to healthcare?
Yeah. So actually one of my first jobs that I ever got was a co-op job with BC Cancer, and it wasn't really data related. It was more web development, but I really liked working in healthcare spaces. I thought it's really cool, and you interact with a bunch of people that kind of have more like different types of experiences than you do. So it's really cool. Yeah, I think what drew me to my current role was that Vancouver Coastal is really working towards like incorporating more language analysis in their processes. So I really commend that they're taking this step, and it's a really cool role. So that's kind of what more drew me. I think the healthcare part was like a bit of a coincidence that I do have experience in it and I really like it. But I appreciate that Vancouver Coastal is like really trying to incorporate more language analysis into their qualitative work.
And just to expand as well to Ahsan and Xinyi as well, if you could just talk a little bit about kind of the what you do day to day in your jobs, and just kind of how the program prepared you for that, then I think any insights are appreciated.
Absolutely. So I'm in academia still, but it does vary from academia to industry. Typically, though, we'll get quarterly deliverables or monthly deliverables, and we'll have weekly meetings on a touch base. Keep in mind, data scientists don't work in isolation. We have collaboration across industry partners if you're doing externally, but also internally, domain experts that'll guide you. So for example, if I'm working on high entropy alloys with a bunch of mechanical engineers, I'm surrounded by PhDs who are masters of their own domain, who are feeding me data. I'm running models and feeding them outputs and saying, is this good? Is it bad? Can you guide me? How can I tune this to exactly what you're looking for? There's a lot of interdisciplinary collaboration with most of our jobs.
Yeah, so my day-to-day job is basically I have this one-on-one meeting with my manager every day, basically to discuss what I should be focusing on, like because we have this much database, but we're still thinking of like which angle we can just cut into, then we can produce more commercial values to the company. And also apart from that, I also have meetings with because our company, we have offices in North America, South America, and everywhere in the world. So basically, I will also be attending their meetings and knowing what they will be doing. So basically, that will also help me a lot of broaden my horizon and knowing what other team members are doing. Also, we also have like calls with say Microsoft team and also other companies outside of our companies to cooperate with them on other projects. So that's also some part of my day-to-day job.
So I'm going to ask a question, not just but were there any particular courses in the program that surprised you that were maybe something you hadn't thought about and introduced you to something that you thought, oh, this is really neat. This is something that I want to learn more about. Just a general question.
Maybe the machine translation, the course that at the very end of the program. Yeah, one thing is that it was really difficult for me personally. But then it's also very interesting while we do those kind of machine translations. And then you can actually see how your computer actually translates one language into another, and then you don't have to rely on you have to rely on Google Translate from time to time. But yeah, it's really amazing to see like how this process it's going on your control, right? So I think that one course is really interesting for me.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. I was just wondering if there were any courses that surprised you, or that you remember as being particularly interesting over the course of the program?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll pick one. It was towards the very, very end. I think it was block 6. We discussed transformers and we talked about like self-attention mechanisms. And I was like, what is this? And then as soon as we dived into like work, it turns out everything is transformers and everything is self-attention. And then lo and behold, a couple of weeks after our program finished, new things started coming out like stable diffusion and DALI model. And now there are models that first there were models that would talk to you, so they would generate text. Now they generate images. But then as of like a week ago, they generate videos. So there's a whole video based on like a text input. I'm like, how are you doing this? So yeah.
Saffrin, did you have anything?
I think the course that Ahsan is talking about, the Trends in Linguistics course, is a really cool course because what I liked about it is that it's going to be different every year. So it was really geared toward what exactly in this particular like academic year has been coming up. So I thought that just like all of the stuff that I could have never imagined was in that course. I'm like, oh, we can do that actually. So that was a fun course.
Yeah. So final point to add on to that is every batch is going to have a different curriculum for that one specific course. We won't know what the next batch studies because the technology will change so much in 12 months. It'll be completely different.
All right. So we have about 5 minutes left. If you have any other questions that you want to ask our panelists, but also open up to the panelists if they have anything specific that they feel we haven't covered that you think could be helpful for students wanting to come into the program, or job hunting, just CL in general. Like I know that there were questions about other programming languages. Most of the program is Python and R, but I think the more programming languages you know, the easier it can become to apply to other languages. But yeah, if you have any ideas of anything else. I see a question. So do you still keep in touch with your cohorts, either socially or through online networking?
Oh, definitely. We talk like basically me and my cohort talk a lot about like before like one or 2 months back, we were basically talking about how's your capstone project going, like how's your job hunting going, and right now like we're basically talking about how's your work going, like what you're doing in your work, like what kind of tools you're using. So it's basically really helpful to keep in touch with your cohort, and then so that you can get some idea of like how the other people are doing in their career, and which might help you like looking for like a second job, or maybe like it will help you like in your current career as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead,
many of us, I'm local, but there were many international students also in our colleagues. And keeping in touch with your cohort, not only just for like interviews and professional, but also at a personal level, I think it's good to develop a network that you would carry on like decades into the future. So definitely a good starting point.
I think additionally, this is like a very unique experience to go through 10 months of like such an intense program. And in a way, like nobody except for the people in the program really understand what it was like. So I think it's nice to have that contact with people who like have this unique experience with you.
And you didn't completely escape the COVID pandemic either. There was 1 month where everything went back online and coming back for Omicron. So I think we have time for one more question. I see that there's there are 2 questions. I guess you can answer either one. But what besides programming and linguistics would be good to know coming into the program, and also what's your favorite or least favorite part of the program, and data science in general?
So sorry, I'll take the first one. So aside from just like Python and linguistics, highly recommend stats. I know there was a calculus prereq, but you didn't really do too much calc, but like do brush up on your stats, because a lot of data analysis is here's a population, how is it behaving kind of thing. So
I would say this is more of a soft skill, but this program involves a lot of group work. So I would say be comfortable with advocating for yourself and holding yourself accountable, holding other people accountable, and communicating when you maybe need help, and communicating maybe when you need other people to step up a little more, because during the capstone project, like you're the only person that is like keeping track of everything. Like your prof is there to mentor you, but they can't control like how the project is going. So if you need help, you need to ask for it.
Yeah, my favorite part about this program is actually the group work part, because it's always been a really intense program, and it's really good to have someone at your back, like someone who is supporting each other, who say, oh, hey, like we only have like 5 questions left for this lab. And then it's really a great environment that you can, whenever you have questions, you can just go to ask your prof, go to ask TA, and you can always find support from your cohort, from your friends, from the classmates. Nobody will hesitate to give you help on any questions that you might have. So that's actually my favorite part of this program, that you're never feeling alone. Like even if like everyone is so stressed out, like during quiz or during the deadline for the labs and everything, you always feel like you are supported, right? Like you have this bunch of friends who are supporting you. Yeah.
So we're at time for the panel talk. So let's thank our panelists for coming in and joining us today. Thank you for everyone who could attend and find more information. Yeah, thank you very much. If you have further questions, there have been links posted about the program in general. You can also contact me about questions about the program. Just my email address is on the department website. And the ling.mds@ubc.ca. But thank you everyone for attending. Thank you to Saffrin, Ahsan, and Xinyi for giving us their time to talk about the program.